What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Z-Maily coming back at you with another video. Today we got a new series for you guys. This is going to be called Tracking AIPAC, and this is episode number 1. So without further ado, first up we have George Latimer, who ran for office as a Democratic nominee in New York's 16th District, and AIPAC invested over $1.3 million into George Latimer's 2024 campaign against Representative Jamal Bowman due to ideological differences over United States policies towards Israel, because Bowman has aligned himself with the anti-Israel extremist fringe. Yeah, okay. AIPAC spokesperson Marshall Whitman stated that Latimer was strongly committed to strengthening the U.S.-Israel relationship and standing by our ally as it fights Hamas terrorism. AIPAC spent over $14 million to support Latimer and oppose Bowman, making it the largest investment in a single congressional race in AIPAC's history. The spending included $1 million in positive ads for Latimer and $1 million in negative ads targeting Bowman. The campaign was characterized by significant outside spending, with AIPAC and other pro-Israel groups spending a total of approximately $20 million, compared to less than $3 million from progressive groups supporting Bowman. That's just lovely. The next candidate that AIPAC put a lot of money into was Jackie Rosen, who was a Democrat senator running for re-election in Arizona. AIPAC spent over $1.1 million supporting Senator Jackie Rosen in her 2024 re-election campaign due to her consistent and strong support for Israel and the U.S.-Israel relationship. Rosen has been recognized as one of the most reliable allies of Israel in Congress, demonstrating bipartisan commitment to strengthening ties between the two nations. She co-founded and co-chairs the Senate Bipartisan Task Force for Combating Anti-Semitism and the Abraham Accords Caucus, which are both groups that promote bipartisan support for Israel. Rosen has consistently voted in favor of military aid to Israel and has supported measures that AIPAC advocates, such as anti-BDS legislation and sanctions against Iran. She is also a large advocate for immigration, DEI, gun control, abortion rights, and LGBTQ rights. The next major recipient of AIPAC funds is Robert Menendez. Shout out to all the COD fans, who actually looks like is now going to prison. But anyway, AIPAC has given him over $1 million in funding due to his long-standing and influential role as a pro-Israel advocate in the United States Senate. Menendez has been a consistent and vocal supporter of policies that align with AIPAC's objectives, particularly concerning Iran and United States-Israel relations, such as opposition to the Iran nuclear deal. Menendez was one of the few Senate Democrats to oppose the 2015 Iran nuclear agreement, which is a position that resonated with pro-Israel groups concerned about the deal's implications for regional security for Israel, as well as consistently voting for bills that include foreign aid to Israel and other pro-Israel policies. Next up, we have Hakeem Jeffries, who AIPAC has vigorously supported, who is a Democrat congressman out of New York, and AIPAC has donated over $700,000 to his campaign, which is due to his strong and consistent pro-Israel stance, which aligns with the organization's objectives. Jeffries has maintained a steadfast commitment to U.S.-Israel relations throughout his political career. He has consistently supported legislation that strengthens the bond between the two nations and has been vocal in his defense of Israel's right to defend itself. In January of 2023, he was unanimously elected as the House Democratic leader, making him a valuable asset for AIPAC, who has been supporting him since the beginning of his career in 2013, and he even took an AIPAC-sponsored trip to Israel. He also advocates for gun control, LGBT rights, DEI initiatives, immigration, and gun control policies, and also takes money from a handful of other Jewish groups, such as the Democratic Majority for Israel, the Jewish Democratic Council of America, which donated a combined $400,000 to him in the 2022 election cycle, making him the 4th largest recipient of pro-Israel money in the House. And finally, we have Richie Torres, who is a Democrat congressman out of New York and has received around $600,000 from AIPAC because of his strong support and consistent pro-Israel stance, which aligns with the organization's objectives. Torres has been a vocal advocate for Israel, emphasizing its status as a sanctuary for the Jewish people. His support for Israel has been a defining aspect of his political identity. In the 2022 election cycle, AIPAC was Torres's largest contributor, donating over $141,000 to his campaign. This financial support reflects AIPAC's recognition of Torres as a key ally in Congress who shares their commitment to strengthening U.S.-Israel relations. Torres' alignment with AIPAC's pro-Israel agenda has also influenced his position within the Democratic Party. He resigned from the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which was a move that some observers interpret as a response to the group's criticism of Israel's policies. His steadfast support for Israel has distinguished him from other members of the Democratic Party, particularly those critical of Israeli government actions. Torres has emphasized the importance of providing Israel with the necessary tools to defend itself against threats from Iran and its proxies. He also supports immigration, DEI, LGBT, abortion, and gun control policies. Moving on to the people that AIPAC is trying to get out of office or campaigning against through its super PAC UDP, which is United Democracy Project, we have Congressman Thomas Massie, who is a Republican out of Kentucky, and AIPAC has spent approximately $350,000 on a television advertising campaign targeting Representative Massie due to his consistent opposition to United States military aid to Israel, as well as his votes against resolutions supporting Israel. He was the only Republican to vote against a House resolution affirming Israel's right to exist and equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism in November 2023. Additionally, he opposed a $14.5 billion aid package to Israel amid the Israel-Hamas conflict, citing concerns about its economic impact on Americans. Massey has also proposed legislation and publicly stated that members of Congress should not hold dual citizenship. In August of 2024, he introduced the Dual Loyalty Disclosure Act, which mandates that candidates for federal office disclose all countries where they hold citizenship. Massey argued that if dual citizens are permitted to run for federal office, they should disclose their citizenships and abstain from votes that specifically benefit their other countries of citizenship. And while not publicly stating that this was aimed at Israel, it's obvious that this was the implication due to the fact that the majority of elected officials that have dual citizenship have it with Israel. The next person that AIPAC has spent a shit ton of money campaigning against is Representative Jamal Bowman, who ran as a Democrat congressman for New York, and AIPAC spent over $14.6 million opposing Bowman in the Democratic primary for New York's 16th congressional district. Bowman was defeated by George Latimer, who is a candidate more aligned with AIPAC's pro-Israel stance. They campaigned against Bowman due to his vocal criticism of Israel's policies, particularly regarding the Gaza conflict. He also opposed a House resolution condemning Hamas's terrorism, voting against it on the ground that it failed to address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. In response, AIPAC launched a substantial ad campaign targeting Bowman, accusing him of being an anti-Israel extremist, and highlighted his opposition to key bipartisan legislation supported by President Biden, such as the infrastructure and debt limit bills. The campaign was part of a broader strategy by AIPAC to influence the Democratic primaries by supporting candidates who align more closely with its pro-Israel stance. Bowman ended up losing the primary to George Latimer, who was a moderate Democrat backed by AIPAC. The race became one of the most expensive House primaries in U.S. history, with AIPAC spending approximately $15 million, which is a record for a congressional primary. Next up, we have Representative Cori Bush, who is a Democrat in Missouri, and AIPAC spent more than $8.6 million opposing Bush in Missouri's 1st congressional district. Cori Bush, known for her criticism of Israeli policies, was defeated by Wesley Bell, who received AIPAC's backing and campaigned against Representative Bush due to her outspoken criticism of Israeli policies, particularly regarding the Gaza conflict. Bush, who is a progressive Democrat from Missouri, described Israel's military actions in Gaza as ethnic cleansing and boycotted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's address to Congress, labeling him a war criminal in response. And she also defended activists who supported the BDS movement. Bush lost the primary to Wesley Bell, who secured approximately 51.2% of the vote to her 45.6%. Next up, we have Andy Levin, who is running as a Democrat for Congress in Michigan. AIPAC spent over $340,000 opposing Andy Levin, largely because of his progressive stance on Israel and Palestinian rights, which clashed with AIPAC's pro-Israel priorities. Levin, a former synagogue president and self-described Zionist, often criticized the Israeli government, particularly regarding the Israeli government's policies in Gaza. He also sponsored the Two-State Solution Act, which proposed conditioning U.S. aid to Israel based on human rights compliance and emphasized diplomatic solutions and Palestinian rights. He also opposed unconditional U.S. military aid to Israel. He ended up losing the primary to Haley Stevens, who took around $4 million from AIPAC. And last but not least, we have Sri Thanader. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but AIPAC lobbied heavily against them in Michigan's 13th congressional district. They ran for Congress as a Democrat in Michigan, and AIPAC spent over $1.43 million opposing him, while also spending over $2.74 million supporting his opposition, but nonetheless, Thanader won the primary, indicating a less favorable outcome for AIPAC's efforts in Congress. They opposed Thanader due to his prior criticism of Israel. As a state legislator, Thanader co-sponsored a Michigan House resolution that labeled Israel an apartheid state and urged Congress to stop military aid. In response, AIPAC spent over $3 million supporting a more traditionally pro-Israel candidate, as part of their broader efforts to influence Democratic primaries by backing candidates who align with AIPAC's values. Thanader, however, self-financed his campaign with more than $8 million of his own money, helping him overcome AIPAC's financial backing of his opposition. And this race was notable as one of the few high-profile instances where an AIPAC-backed candidate lost. So that's going to do it for episode 1 of Tracking AIPAC, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, whatever. I'm trying to monetize this shit, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. I'll catch you guys on the next one.